And I don't even know what to answer you. Because what does a party chairman in Kenya has to do with the market prices of shares? There's nothing I can do. I'm a market taker, just like any other Kenyan. And on that matter, respectively, Honorable Aliko, you are my brother. This issue came up when I was there. And I gave my voice. And my voice is as I have given the committee, because there's nothing to hide. The beauty about this conversation is that even the people who have appeared before you here, the technocrats from the National Treasury, they know the things I'm saying here are the correct ones. That was what they were also saying themselves. But because of the urgency of wanting to sell this share now and not tomorrow, that is my answer, what I think has changed. Then you asked about the valuation of, in terms of KCB being the transaction advisor. And I agree with you about there is the base price and there is the upper limit. In fact, you can change nothing. You know, in a business transaction, if Honorable Maduku is an architect and he wants to do his work for me for free, that is his business to do that. My business as a Kenyan is to look at where we are approaching the ceiling, not the floor. The ceiling is more important to me because that is where you put in the other costs in quote. And in this matter, Honorable Aliko, through the chair, I only have one direct thing that you need to do to safeguard the Kenyan interests. Even if KCB gets 3 billion, it is okay. Just do one thing. Ask them, do you have a stockbroker's agent? And they do it in writing. Why am I saying so? That is how deals are cut. And we are here to protect public resources so that instead of the deals being cut to go outside of the public purse, this money to be directed into building roads and other things. So if this committee gets that comfort in writing, then we will have a follow-up document that if KCB ever pays anyone in the name of being an agency, then this house will ask them, an agency for what? Do you need any agency to go to KCB to introduce a Safaricom stake, where the chairman is already a representation of government? That is my take on Abu Aliko.
Point of order, Chair. Safaricom is a business entity. So whatever it does in terms of transactional advisor, it is part of its business. So even if one of the main shareholder in KCB is doing another transaction somewhere, it will not give for free. It will charge transactional advisor fee as part of its business. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Aliko, we need a whole day.
What about Nyoro? Respond to the chair, not to Aliko. And I'm the chair now.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, because I'm answering Honorable Aliko, just to put it in perspective, through the chair, I'm answering Honorable Aliko's question. I think we'll need a day to first orient ourselves onto what we are doing in this hotel today and this session. Because Safaricom PLC has nothing to do with a buyer and the seller, Honorable Aliko. They have nothing to do with that. And I thought the CEO was here yesterday, and he said it in the language we cannot understand. Safaricom has nothing to do with the transaction between the government of Kenya and our buyers. And therefore, they have no business to appoint a TA, a transaction advisor. It is only the National Treasury who actually brought up the issue of KCB, not Safaricom. And therefore, I'm not talking about Safaricom. I'm talking about the National Treasury because they should be answerable to us as Kenyans. So my question is simple, and I give my proposal. There are some things you can achieve by just doing one thing. You can hit 2 birds with 1 stone. To remove any darkness and gray areas, let KCB do in writing whether there is a stockbrokers agency attached to this transaction. You'll have cured everything else. Yes. You talked about transaction cost and you give for OECD countries. Kenya is not an OECD country, remember? Kenya is a growing economy. So it's the right parameter for the wrong jurisdiction. Some are repeating themselves, but you also talked about shares came down after government invested in Ethiopia? Precisely. The shares of Safaricom were trading at 45 shillings around 2021. And the valuation of Safaricom PLC then was 1.8 trillion shillings share. Now we are coming at a level where the same Safaricom has already invested in Ethiopia, colossal amounts of money, but we are valuing it at 2/3 of the then price. And then you are told, no, you have to keep quiet. You are basing it on the market price. That question is next, Honorable Karuma. I'll highlight it. Honorable Chair, Honorable Karuma talked about he talked about a smoke gun or a gun smoke. And I am disappointed, to be honest, that a country losing 100 billion shillings is nothing important to any Kenyan. I am disappointed about that. The condition precedent alone, which I gave here, Kenya is losing 100 billion.
Chair, point of order, please. Honorable Nyoro, yesterday we had civil society. In fact, they are even more concerned than you are. In fact, they were saying that we should not even be here. Or if I recall what they said. So, as a point of information, many other Kenyans are as concerned, if not more, than you are. So I think, take it easy.
It's in good faith, the Honorable Maduku, through the chair. What I'm saying is, the question was directed to me.
The tone you are using when Ndindi Nyoro, through the chair, is what is taking that, like, there is nobody caring. You know, this is a committee of parliament, and you are a member of parliament, you understand. We are listening, and then thereafter, this committee will retreat and make a judgment on the reports, including what you are going to do.
Through the chair, Honorable Ruto, I give my presentation, and I pinpointed direct specific areas. Then if you come to me and tell me, stop talking now, it means you are choosing what to listen to. And I don't think that is fair, because I gave correct figures, what we are losing, the parameters we may do for valuation. How would you be waiting for me to give a smoke gun?
Mheshimiwa Ndindi,
Yes.
I think let's make progress. What he was expecting, you did say maybe you would mention names and all that. That's what he more or less referred to. But the figures you gave, I think, is also in there. So that's perfectly in order. Thank you.
Let me not even, Chairman, I'll not go to that so that we don't,
Thank you so much.
we don't degenerate. But with humility, what I presented, I feel is very important, because we are losing so
There
much
is no
money.
doubt it's very important. That's why we're all here, and I'm sure you took your time to research, do all the works that need for you to appear before this committee, and even giving your time to come and give your views to this committee, I think is a huge sacrifice for a member of parliament. So no doubt that you put in a lot into this. And that's why we want to hear you, and we don't want to digress so that we lose the main reason that you're here for. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and I'll not go to anything that would harm the ambience of this meeting. In terms of valuation, Honorable Karuma, through the chair, was more about valuation, and he asked whether I can come up with a specific figure. It is possible, yes, but this is the point. It will still be subjective. You get what I mean? My question is not about whether I have a figure or the other person has. My question is about the process of getting into that figure. The figure that we are giving, by all contexts, even the other shareholders who appeared, we cannot agree it is grossly undervalued based on the presentation that you had and the valuation parameters that has been put forth. And again, there is one way we can strike that. And I like Honorable Karuma, Honorable Chair. He was telling me, tell us how to do it, but don't mention. In fact, I wrote it. How can we come up with a valuation, the right valuation, but he also put a rejoinder, but don't tell us about competitive bidding. It's like saying, please tell me how I can cure malaria, but don't talk about malaria queen. I don't know what to say on that, because I think the best way to realize this value is to subject this transaction into global competition. One, you have people bidding, and I give examples which I don't want to go into, of rare bingo, where I didn't read, I was a participant. A share that was 27.5, just like the current valuation of Safaricom by the time of announcement. But we ended up pocketing 85 shillings. Why? As I answer that question about Honorable Karuma. You know, I was listening also to the National Treasury and other people talking about market. Vodafone can buy from the market. It is fine. Why can't they go and buy? I also threw the same question. It is for one answer. When you are dealing with a block sale, you input a huge premium based on availability. Today, if I wanted to buy Safaricom shares, only 2% of Safaricom, I will not get in this market. So you have to do it an off-the-market transaction. And the more the reason when it is an off-the-market transaction, it comes with a huge premium. It's not Safaricom that is first to do that. The last 1 year, we have had Baburi being bought by Amazon. If you look at the price 1 year prior to the day of, exactly 1 year prior to the day of transaction, Amazon paid 175% upside. But those giving examples are talking about 6 months for convenience, because the market already knew there was a transaction and the share had already started to respond. I talked about Rea Vipingo. I can talk about Ken Okobi. Ken Okobi also was listed and also had a block sale. Block sales across, that is what happens. And now what you do in the block sale, you go outside the market. You know, the market is already an auction for small-time shareholders like me and you, where we go buy 100 shares today, 200 shares today. The market provides liquidity. When I need to pay school fees, I go and sell the shares. And therefore, the market, what it does, it assigns the value for the retail shareholders market. However, when you are doing a block sale outside of the market, and Safaricom, I'm repeating, is not the first one, they generate humongous premiums. And, Chairman, this is my question. If there is nothing to hide, if we are above board, why can't we just, we will not even spend money to advertise. We'll just signal to the market. Safaricom is on sale. We open bids for only 2 months. I can guarantee you, Chairman, that 2 or 4 billion will get even an upside of 350 billion for the same stake. And I'm basing on the P ratios that I gave of different telcos and different companies of that nature. Now, as Honorable Karuma talked about 30%, the company's low, and I agree with him. Personally, in terms of my political leaning, I would actually not advocate for an amendment of that, because I believe in unfreed capital flows. For economies to grow, don't give quotations, especially when you need money. You know, when we institute a law on capping 30% on Safaricom, you can't do a law singularly for one company. You do it blanket for all the companies. So my leaning, economically speaking, I will not advocate for the change of law in terms of pushing international investor outside. I would actually advocate for a free flow of capital. That's how South Korea did, China did. Some of the brands we talk about, including China, all of them, Alibaba, that was American money, BYD, that was Berkshire Hathaway's money at some point. If you go to even Singapore, Keppel, they grew on other people's money, DSB Bank, other people's money. So I believe in an economy where let capital flow, and especially inwards, not outwards. The other thing is the same Honorable Karuma asked. You know, this is the confusion we are being we may get into. Oh, Vodafone can buy this share cheaply in the market. Okay, they are reasonable. Let them go and buy. I'm repeating. They will not get supply. There is only 25% stake listed for Safaricom. Some are already held by institutional shareholders who are not selling because they know the price is not the current one. They know the market does not represent the valuation. Just as Rea Vipingo 27.5 was not representing the valuation, which we ended up having 85 shillings. It is the same thing. Honorable Kirwa, thank you very much for the compliments. And I'm always very, very happy to see you, Honorable Kirwa. Very happy, and especially given the challenges that have been there. Seeing you healthy and good, we are all very happy for that. Again, many things are rotating around valuation. I think that is the valuation, because it's cutting across. The way to handle valuation is to go to the markets. There's no way we are going to run away from that. You also talked something about these guys we are selling to are already inside. It's called information asymmetry. So they already know so much than I know. So they already know so much than the market knows. And the more the reason they actually held a celebration in SA to celebrate taking advantage of Kenya. To cure this, just expose Safaricom transaction into the international markets. Kenya will not lose time. We can only take 2 months. And as I said in my presentation, we will definitely get a higher value, maybe even from the same buyers. Honorable Maduku, I agree with you in terms of fees. There is the canon, even in stockbroking there is. But I think our business is not to encourage the people we are oversighting towards the ceiling. Our business is to push them towards the floor. Because any savings between the floor and the ceiling, any saving in there is going directly to the Kenyan people through various services. You also talked about divestitures that happens in terms of breaking the parts. Unfortunately, the companies you gave, none is in the business like the one, none is close to Safaricom in the business they are in. But breaking down happens in 2 levels. There is the breaking down of a company that is too diversified. That is what GE was. At some point, GE had more than 200 parts, and especially when Jack Welch was the CEO. So there is a difference between when you have an agricultural company that also does telco, that also manufactures carpets, that also manufactures camera. That was what GE was. And that is why they are breaking down. What am I trying? I'm looking for words so that they fit into the explanation. Safaricom, you are talking about a company with 3 parts, which all can be a client to each. But beyond being a client to each, at our company will be a client to the telco. And the fintech will also be a client to the telco. But beyond that, it opens the 3 entities to do business with other people. If you are in Kenya and you need to use towers, then you'll go to a tower company that is independent. However, the shareholding will be split across all the 3 entities. The same shareholding that there is in the group will operate in the 3. Also, the issue of HP, the companies, Honorable Maduku, you agree with me, the scenarios are quite different. The homogeneity of their transaction is very different from the current one. As I finish, cross-listing, I agree, especially regionally. Cross-listings that are happening is cross-listing towards Kenya, not without Kenya. What I mean is that we have regional companies listing in Kenya, like Umeme, like the Bank of Kigali is listed in the NSC, but we barely don't have a lot of Kenyan companies listed elsewhere. However, as you rightly put it, cross-listing is very important also for capital flow. Let me use an example. The other day we saw a company saying they have discovered gold in Kenya worth so much. If you look at that company, a small entity, it was actually at some point listed in the LSE. So they go there, they raise the money, but the money comes to grow our country. It is the same arrangement we should have and encourage, where we have Safaricom, but for it to even realize real value in the market, expose it not to smaller markets, but the bigger markets. in terms of Africa, our Kenyan companies, including Safaricom, should be looking into cross-listing in JSE and then go beyond Africa. LSE, you can go to NASDAQ, you can go to NYSE and the rest. And I agree with you, there is so much value to derive from there. Double layering, as you said, I think the answer is, why do it? If you own this hotel, why do you need a layer of 8 companies? This owning this and the other owning the other. Why would you do all that much work if you are above board?
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Ndindi. Now we'll give Mheshimiwa Mboni, Mheshimiwa Makilap.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Chairman. And thank you, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro. I think you have given us a lot of insights. And to be very sincere, we need to call some of these institutions so that they can clarify some of the issues we are raising, and which some of us have been concerned. According to you, we are losing 100 billion from these transactions. And based on that, that means the valuation of these Safaricom is 2 trillion, based on 50% sale. And therefore, really, you have not really given us the method of valuation which is bringing you to 300 billion. Because you can either use a market valuation or asset valuation of the company. Because, for example, this hotel, the value of this hotel may be 2 billion, for example. But in terms of financial value and whatever it's making, it may be lower than that. So I think it's important to give us the method which you are using. Secondly, I don't think we are losing through this transaction the way you are putting it, because there was a discount which was given by Communication Authority on the licenses, and therefore we lost 100 billion. And the way you are putting it is like all these ones was geared towards selling Safaricom, and therefore we also lost 100 billion. So we are talking about 200 billion, which you have lost through all this process. So maybe you need to clarify that. You did mention that some of the people who are negotiating were not part of the process in your presentation. I looked at it very well. And I was wondering, where and when do transaction advisors come in? Were they not part of this transaction negotiations? Because transaction officer is supposed to lead and guide on transaction and negotiation of that. Mheshimiwa Ndindi Nyoro, you did mention Mobitelea, and this is an issue which has been people have been trying to avoid. I raised it, I think, with I think Treasury or another company or somebody, and nobody is coming out to tell us where does Mobitelea share stand in this, because even Mobitelea that time it owned 5% of Safaricom, assuming Vodacom also bought the 5%. And you know, we are made to understand they have 40%. Now suppose they bought 5%, and now they are buying another 15%. Therefore, we are talking about a controlling shareholding by Vodacom of 60%. So maybe you can tell us what happened to this year, because I think you have a lot of insights. And who bought the 5% from Australia, so that at least we can be able to make some of these decisions as a committee. Otherwise, I'm very happy about this presentation, and it has given me a lot of insights on this committee. If we actually follow this
then we can be able to come up with a conclusive understanding and decision on this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Mboni. Mheshimiwa Makila.